Chapter 36. The tape came on Saturday in a small package addressed to Will Graham, CO, FBI Headquarters, Washington. It had been mailed in Chicago on the day Lowndes was killed. The laboratory and latent prints found nothing useful on the cassette case or the wrapper. A copy of the tape went to Chicago in the afternoon pouch. Special Agent Chester brought it to Graham in the jury room at mid-afternoon. A memo from Lloyd Bowman was attached. Voice prints verify this is Lowndes. Obviously, he was repeating dictation. It's a new tape, manufactured in the last 3 months and never used before. Behavioral science is picking at the content Dr. Bloom should hear it when he's well enough. You decide about that. Clearly the killer's trying to rattle you. He'll do that once too often, I think. A dry vote of confidence, much appreciated. Graham knew he had to listen to the tape. He waited until Chester left. He didn't want to be closed up in the jury room with it. The empty courtroom was better. Some sun came in the tall windows. The cleaning women had been in, and dust still hung in the sunlight. The tape recorder was small and gray. Graham put it on a counsel table and pushed the button. A technician's monotone. Case number 426238. Item 814. Tagged and logged. A tape cassette. This is a recording. A shift in the quality of the sound. Graham held onto the railing of the jury box with both hands. Freddie Lowndes sounded tired and frightened. I had a privilege, a great privilege. I have seen with wonder and awe, the strength of the great red dragon. The original recording had been interrupted frequently as it was made. The machine caught the clank of the stop key each time. Graham saw the finger on the key. Dragon finger. I lied about him. All I wrote was lies from Will Graham. He made me write them. I have blasphemed against the dragon. Even so, the dragon is merciful. Now I want to serve him. He has helped me understand his splendor, and I will praise him. Newspapers, when you print this, always capitalize the H in him. He knows you made me lie, Will Graham, because I was forced to lie. He will be more merciful to me than to you, Will Graham. Oh yeah, it's just a little chilly, Frigid. Good to see you, darling. Reach behind you, Will Graham, and feel for the small knobs on the top of your pelvis. Feel your spine between them. That is the precise spot where the dragon will snap your spine. Graham kept his hands on the railing. damn if I feel. Did the dragon not know the nomenclature of the iliac spine, or did he choose to use it? Yeah, Pookie Bear. Okay. Yes, you are. Yes, you are. That got me. Yeah, I knew it. 𝘰𝘄𝘕 signed in on your husband's account. Very smart. So silly. There's much for you to dread. From my own lips, you will learn a little more to dread. A pause before the awful screaming. Worse, the blubbering, lipless cry. You goddamn bastard. You promised. Graham put his head between his knees until the bright spots stopped dancing in front of his eyes. He opened his mouth and breathed deep. An hour passed before he could listen to it again. He took the recorder into the jury room and tried to listen there. Too close. He left the tape recorder turning and went back into the courtroom. He could hear through the open door. I have a great privilege. Someone was at the court door. Graham recognized the young clerk from the Chicago FBI office and motioned for him to come in. A letter came for you, the clerk said. Mr. Chester sent me with it. He told me to be sure and say the postal inspector fluoroscoped it. The clerk pulled the letter out of his breast pocket. Heavy move, stationary. Graham hoped it was from Molly. It's stamped, see? Thank you. Also, it's payday. The clerk handed him his check. On the tape, Freddie screamed. The young man flinched. Sorry. Graham said. I don't know how you stand it. The young man said. Go home, Graham said. He sat in the jury box to read his letter. He wanted some relief. The letter was from Dr. Hannibal Lecter. Dear Will, a brief note of congratulations for the job you did on Mr. Lowndes. I admired it enormously. What a cunning boy you are. Mr. Lowndes often offended me with his ignorant drivel, but he did enlighten me on one thing. Your confinement in the mental hospital. My inept attorney should have brought that out in court, but never mind. You know, Will, you worry too much. You'd be so much more comfortable if you relaxed with yourself. We don't invent our nature's will. They're issued to us along with our lungs and pancreas and everything else. Why fight it? I want to help you, Will, and I'd like to start by asking you this. When you were so depressed after you shot Mr. Garrett Jacob Hobbs to death, it wasn't the act that got you down, was it? Really? Didn't you feel so bad because killing him felt so good? Think about it, but don't worry about it. Why shouldn't it feel good? It must feel good to God. He does it all the time. And are we not made in His image? You may have noticed in the paper yesterday, God dropped a church roof on 34 of His worshipers in Texas Wednesday night, just as they were groveling through a hymn. Don't you think that felt good? 34. He'd let you have Hobbs. He got 160 Filipinos in one plane crash last week. He'll let you have measly Hobbs. He won't begrudge you one measly murder. 2 now. That's all right. Watch the papers. God always stays ahead. Best, Hannibal Lecter, MD. Graham knew that Lecter was dead wrong about Hobbs, but for half a second he wondered if Lecter might be a little bit right in the case of Freddie Lowndes. The enemy inside Graham agreed with any accusation. He had put his hand on Freddie's shoulder in the Tadler photograph to establish that he really had told Freddie those insulting things about the dragon. Or had he wanted to put Freddie at risk just a little? He wondered. The certain knowledge that he would not knowingly miss a chance at the dragon reprieved him. I'm just about worn out with you crazy sons of bitches, Graham said aloud. He wanted a break. He called Molly, but no one answered the telephone at Willie's grandparents' house. Probably out in their damned motorhome, he mumbled. He went out for coffee, partly to assure himself that he was not hiding in the jury room. In the window of a jewelry store, he saw a delicate antique gold bracelet. It cost him most of his paycheck. He had it wrapped and stamped for mailing. Only when he was sure that he was alone at the mail drop did he address it to Molly in Oregon. Graham did not realize, as Molly did, that he gave presents when he was angry. He didn't want to go back to his jury room and work, but he had to. The thought of Valerie Leeds spurred him. I'm sorry, I can't come to the phone right now, Valerie Leeds had said. He wished that he had known her. He wished. Useless, childish thought. Graham was tired, selfish, resentful, fatigued to a child mind state in which his standards of measurement were the first ones he learned, where the direction north was Highway 61 and 6 feet was forever the length of his father. Why, hello there, Vixen. I'm glad that you find comfort. For those who do not know and have not been here before, I am 𝘰𝘳𝘠𝘸𝘕𝑙𝐵𝑒𝑡 I am known as the aristocratic Grandin. And tonight I am currently reading Red Dragon by Thomas Harris. So I do hope that you enjoy and stay a while. He made himself settle down to the minutely detailed victim profile he was putting together from a fan of reports and his own observations. Affluence. That was one parallel. Both families were affluent. Odd that Valerie Leeds saved money on pantyhose. Graham wondered if she had been a poor child. He thought so. Her own children were a little too well turned out. Graham had been a poor child, following his father from the boatyards in Biloxi and Greenville to the lake boats on Erie. Always the new boy at school, always the stranger. He had a half-buried grudge against the rich. Valerie Leeds might have been a poor child. He was tempted to watch his films of her again. He could do it in the courtroom. No, the Leedses were not his immediate problem. He knew the Leedses. He didn't know the Jacobies. The lack of intimate knowledge about the Jacobies plagued him. The house fire in Detroit had taken everything. Family albums, probably diaries too. Graham tried to know them through the objects they wanted, bought, and used. That was all he had. The Jacoby probate file was 3 inches thick, and a lot of it was a list of possessions. A new household outfitted since the move to Birmingham. Look at all this shit. It was all insured, listed with serial numbers as the insurance companies required. Trust a man who has been burned out to buy plenty of insurance for the next time. The attorney, Brian Metcalf, had sent him carbines instead of Xerox copies of the insurance declarations. The carbines were fuzzy and hard to read. Jacoby had a ski boat. Leeds had a ski boat. Jacoby had a 3-wheeler. Leeds had a trail bike. Graham licked his thumb and turned the page. The 4th item on the 2nd page was a Chinon Pacific movie projector. Graham stopped. How had he missed it? He had looked through every crate on every pallet in the Birmingham warehouse, alert for anything that would give him any intimate view of the Jacobies. Where was the projector? He could cross-check this insurance declaration against the inventory Brian Metcalf had prepared as executor when he stored the Jacoby things. The items had been checked off by the warehouse supervisor who signed the storage contract. It took 15 minutes to go down the list of stored items. No projector, no camera, no film. Graham leaned back in his chair and stared at the Jacobies smiling from the picture propped before him. What the hell did you do with it? Was it stolen? Did the killer steal it? If the killer stole it, did he fence it? Dear God, give me a traceable fence. Oh my goodness, thank you so much for the follow. For all those who have not been here before, and are finding their way here, I am Yvette Lancashire. I am known as the aristocratic gremlin. So I hope that you enjoy your stay and enjoy the read. Graham wasn't tired anymore. He wanted to know if anything else was missing. He looked for an hour, comparing the warehouse storage inventory with the insurance declarations. Everything was accounted for except the small precious items. They should all be on Brian Metcalf's own lockbox list of things he had put in the bank vault in Birmingham. All of them were on the list, except two.